Hello, everyone. My name's Rach. I'm a very grateful, recovered alcoholic and addict, and it's really good to be here with you today. We're in the beautiful chapter, We Agnostics. Welcome, Alison. We're on page 51. Now, just as a little overview, just a little recap, We Agnostics is taking us into step 2, which is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So this chapter is all about helping us to smash those old ideas, to let go of all of our prejudices, and to start opening our minds a little bit to what this power is, what it could be, what it can do for us. And we left off on page 51. So I'm just going to pick up from where we left off. All of these book studies are being recorded, and if anybody wants any of the previous recordings, just let me know. So we're on page 51. This world, a second paragraph down, this world of ours has made more material progress in the last century than in all the millenniums that went before. Almost everyone knows the reason. Students of ancient history tell us that the intellect of men in those days was equal to the best of today. Yet in ancient times, material progress was painfully slow. The spirit of modern scientific research, scientific inquiry, research, and invention was almost unknown. In the realm of the material, men's minds were fettered by superstition, tradition, and all sorts of fixed ideas. Some of the contemporaries of Columbus thought a round earth preposterous. Others came near putting Galileo to death for his astronomical heresies. So that heresies means beliefs or opinion, which is against religious belief. And fettered means to be constricted or restricted or confined. So what this bit is telling us is that they're looking at, back in the day, they're saying that the intellect of people is exactly the same. We haven't become any more or less smarter in today, this age. But actually, back in the day, if you think about, the internet or Shazam or AI or anything like that, their minds were fettered, so restricted and confined. They had fixed ideas by superstition and tradition. So back in the day, all that people used to go by is the spirit, nature. They didn't have all of the the modern technology that we had, that we've got today. So they were really restricted by it. And then it says, we asked ourselves this: are not some of us just as biased and unreasonable about the realm of the spirit as were the ancients about the realm of the material? So even if you think about, what today, we've grown up into a modern age where technology, even like using Google Maps and little things like this, we've been brought up into the material world more and more and more and more. People are relying on it more and more and more. Back in the day, they didn't have all of that. So anything kind of weird and superstition, and that they just were like, no, we're going to keep it really pure, really simple. But now we are so reliant on all of these like external materialistic luxuries that we have become biased and skeptical about the realm of the spirit, because we're just like, well, can I prove it? But what we spoke about last week is, I don't question if my WhatsApp is going to work. I just know that when I download the app and I can video call my sponsor in Australia, I know that I can see her. I don't doubt it. So again, it's just another example of how we've kind of, you know, we don't challenge our thinking in these ways until we start to really look at this. So it says, even in the present century, American newspapers were afraid to print an account of the Wright brothers' first successful flight at Kitty Hawk. Had not all efforts at flight failed before? Did not Professor Langley's flying machine go to the bottom of the Potomac River? Was it not true that the best mathematical minds had proved man could never fly? Had not people said God had reserved this privilege to the birds? Only 30 years later, the conquest of air was almost an old story and airplane travel was in full swing. So, have you heard the Nelson Mandela saying, which is, it's always impossible until it's done? It's always impossible until it's done. And another little thing to think about with this. So, with welcome, Mike. You know, what this is telling us is that people's minds can be so closed down. Back in the day when the Wright brothers, they were like, we're gonna build a flying machine. But the people who were just so set in their ways were like, it's not possible. They tried it. That Professor Langley, he tried it, and it crashed. And he's got the best mathematical mind. So, am I being very skeptical and non-believing of me having a connection with a higher power? Because I'm like, well, I've tried it. I tried prayer, tried meditation, I tried church, I tried my definition with God. It didn't work. So they're just again testing that. And a brilliant saying that I heard was that the laws of physics haven't changed for planes to fly. So planes were always able to fly. We just had to find a way to do it. So what I'm learning now is that my God, my higher power exists. I just have to find a way to connect with that higher power. It wasn't that, do you know what I mean with that analogy about physics didn't change? Planes have always been able to fly, but we just had to find a way. Right? Thanks, Lynn. I saw your little love heart there. So, but in most fields, our generation has witnessed complete liberation of our thinking. Isn't that beautiful? Because my thinking, again, we're looking at step 2 in this chapter, and we're looking about being restored to sanity. In here, it's saying, but in most fields, our generation has witnessed a complete liberation of our thinking. Liberation of my thinking. That's a beautiful thing to even try and comprehend, because my thinking is the problem. My thinking is the insanity that will take me back to the substance, right? But these people are having liberation of their thinking. Show any longshoreman a Sunday supplement describing a proposal to explore the moon by means of a rocket, and he will say, I bet they do it. Maybe not so long either. Is our age not characterized by the ease with which we discard old ideas for new? By the complete readiness with which we throw away the theory or gadget which does not work for something new which does? And I love this bit because it reminds me of, how people used to listen to music. So, music was live once. And then I don't know, I might be wrong here, but then did it turn into vinyl and you could listen to music on vinyl? And then CDs came out and it was like, oh, let's get rid of the vinyl. We're going to go with CDs or tapes, even, sorry, cassette tapes. And then CDs came out, and it was like, okay, tapes are rubbish, even though tapes were brilliant because tapes never broke. Like CDs always get scratched. But and then now, we're streaming music by Shazamming. I'm in a restaurant and I'm opening up my app on my little gadget, my little plastic metal glass gadget, and I'm hitting Shazam and it's listening, and then it's telling me what the song is and I'm adding it to my library. I'm quickly throwing away my old vinyl, my CD, my cassette tape. I don't even think about it. But when it comes to my old ideas around God, why is it I'm so resistant to throw away my old ideas? Why is it I hold on to it like that's my belief system? And the thing is, it's like I don't even challenge my belief systems a lot of the time. So that's why this chapter is brilliant for that, because it's really starting to, it's asking me to, what do I think about the term supreme being? What does infinite power and love mean to me? What does father of light or creative intelligence, what does it mean? These are all words used to describe the word God. The word God is just a 3-letter word to describe whatever your higher power, your conception is. So I like that analogy in that, with like how quickly, we get a new phone. Oh, let's think how quickly technology moves on and we just chuck the old one, done. I'm on to the next. But let's think about why I don't do that with my own thinking. So we had to ask ourselves why we shouldn't apply to our human problems the same readiness to change our point of view. Now, this is the brilliant bedevilments page, page 52, where the bedevilments are. Thinking about, this condition that I have, this human condition, which, as an alcoholic and an addict, this restless, irritable, and discontented, they're gonna make these statements, and I've put question marks behind all of them to ask myself, and I can ask myself this in sobriety as well. So I've converted these into questions. Were we having trouble with personal relationships? Ouch. Yes, I was. And sometimes I still can when I'm not spiritually fit. I find myself being annoyed, getting resentful, thinking I'm right, wanting to prove my point, arguing, debating, like hurt, trouble with personal relationships. When I'm really fit and spiritually well, I'm just like, live and let live. Okay, it's great. Everything's fine. Everything's the way it's meant to be. You know, here's another one. We couldn't control our emotional natures. Oh, couldn't control our emotional natures. Up, down, volatile. Were we a prey to misery and depression? I mean, misery and depression, uncontrollable. Like, again, it's sort of like a lack of gratitude, isn't it? Misery and depression, stuck in it. Could we make a living? Question mark. Now, I was taught that this couldn't we make a living, because I know lots of people who were actually able to work, and that was okay. But how were we showing up to work? How was I showing up? I cannot be my best self if I'm hanging, if I'm tired, if I'm anxious, if I'm paranoid, if I'm not being that helpful, if I'm self-centered, if I'm worried. So I might be able to make a living, but the type of living that I'm going to make is not going to be me showing up as my best self. Did we have a feeling of uselessness? Yeah, I see you nodding your head, Lynn. I see you there. Yeah, me too. Were we full of fear? Oh my gosh, the fear, the evil and corroding thread, right? Were we unhappy? Question mark. Could we seem to be of real help to other people? Question mark. Was not a basic solution of these bedevilments more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight? Of course it was. So what that means there is, isn't it more important that we have a solution to our living than getting this big, a newsreel of something? Because before it says the Sunday supplement describing show any longshoreman. So having this evidence that something can work, actually, we have a basic solution to those bedevilments. And the word bedevilment means like a harassment. So imagine something on your shoulder just constantly harassing you, badgering you, the devil on your shoulder, just always there. And that, if we look at, step one, that we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Those bedevilments are really unmanageable, aren't they? Because it makes life not bearable, not enjoyable, not walking in the sunlight of the spirit, not being helpful and useful and calm and relaxed and peaceful. So this is a really good place to bring anyone or yourself if you're not feeling very spiritually fit. I can do a little, I call it the like spiritualometer, is how much in the bedevilments am I? And if I am feeling super stressed, super anxious, having trouble with relationships, maybe there's something that I can tweak in my program. Maybe I need to be doing a little bit more inventory, or maybe I need to do more spot checks. That's the instructions to that are on page 84. So I'm nipping in the bud quickly. Obviously, if you've got to that step, maybe I need more prayer and meditation. Maybe I need to be quiet and be with God a little bit more, asking for direction. So when we saw others solve their problems by a simple reliance, I love that word simple reliance upon the spirit of the universe, capital S, capital U, that's talking about God, spirit of the universe. We had to, I've not got my sign with me, but I would be powering it if I had my sign. I'd be going pow, 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 there's another must. We had to stop doubting the power of God. So again, we're looking, what I love about this program is that even if I'm not feeling completely on fire or in the sunlight of the spirit, when I show up to a meeting, it's quite likely that there's going to be at least one person who's like, guess what? I just went to a wedding and I didn't drink or use, or my kids just got back in touch with me, or I just made amends to my mum who I hated with a passion. There's people proving every day that this thing works. And that's not to mention all of like, not just the godly things we see in people, but all of creation. I don't know if I don't know if you guys notice nature. I never used to notice it in the way that I do now. And it's spring and I'm watching like these little like buds of flowers turn into the most beautiful creations. And I'm like, that's God. If I get really like stressed out, I love my garden. And when I look at the tiny little insects, like I can just lie on the grass and I look at like a little bug walking on the grass and I'm like, we're just on the planet together. You're like God made you and God made me. We're just here for a hot minute. Like let's enjoy the journey. It's just weird that there's so much going on externally when I'm not in my head worried about me, 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 me. So, spirit of the universe, we had to stop doubting the power of God. Here we go. This is like a fact, isn't it? Our ideas did not work. Fact. my ideas did not work, but the God idea did. And, here in this place in the book, it's asking us to look out and see God working in other people's lives. Because the beauty of step 2 is that came to. We don't have to. It talks about, having our own conception, and however inadequate it is, it's enough for us to begin, to commence. And I love that because it means that even if I'm a year in, or 4 years in, or 10 years in, maybe there's something that's going to happen that might rock our recoveries. And we might have a moment of like, well, I'm not feeling very faithful right now. Like something awful has just happened in my family, or to a friend, or to me, or whatever. But we can always commence to reconnect with our higher power. Ah, yes. Yes, our idea up to the bedevilment. That's my ideas. Yes, exactly, exactly. So up to the bedevilments is our ideas. Brilliant. Thank you. Um, and then so the Wright brothers' almost childish faith that they could build a machine which would fly was the mainspring of their accomplishment. Without that, nothing could have happened. So it was their belief in the flying machine. They didn't know it was going to happen. Everyone said, well, God has just said the birds can fly. The best mathematical mind tried to make it, and the plane crashed. But they had belief. And that's what we're asking to get into now. So without that, nothing could have happened. We agnostics, and I always define the word agnostic for anybody new who might not know. It comes from, it's the Latin word that means without knowledge. Ag being without, and knowledge is gnosis. So without knowledge. So without knowledge of a God, a higher power, 12 steps, we agnostics and atheists were sticking to the idea that self-sufficiency would solve our problems. Question mark. Now, again, just thinking of this word insanity, isn't that crazy that I would dig my heels in and go, no, self-sufficiency, I can solve it. I can sort it. When my whole life, the progression of my illness has just gotten worse and worse and worse. That's the fact. So this is where we're really starting to think about this great obsession. And step 1 is, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. And that great obsession that Dr. Silkworth, we were reading this morning, a sponsee and I, and it says on page 30 that the great obsession of every abnormal drinker is that they can still control and enjoy their drinking. That's not the truth. That's the insanity of my illness. This self-sufficiency would solve my problems. Everything has been going downhill since I've, since I picked up, and it got worse and worse and worse. So when others showed us that God's sufficiency worked with them, we began to feel like those who had insisted the rights would never fly. And, just thinking about this word, God's sufficiency. Welcome, Charlotte. God's sufficiency. Uh, you know, when trying to, hi, Charlotte. When trying to control the show, in the 60s, on page 60 to 63, it talks about, and it's going into step 3, but it's talking about the actor trying to control all the players and the lights and everything. It's so draining. But this God sufficiency, having a humble approach to what really do I have control over? Can I just show up and keep it in the day and just try to be helpful to someone? That's like, oh, God's going to show me what to do. I feel like relaxed, like, but when I'm like, oh no, I've got to make sure everything goes exactly the way I want it to go. And if they don't do that and they don't do that, and it's like so painful. It's such a burden. It's insane, isn't it? It's that insanity of like stressing ourselves, like myself out, thinking that I can control the show. So they began to feel like those who had insisted the rights would never fly. So those skeptics, those people that were like, nah, it's not possible, maybe ourselves going, nah, this 12-step thing's not going to work for me. The God idea is not going to work for me. It's like, but it's been proven that if you follow it fearlessly and thoroughly, it's guaranteed to work. Step 1, powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. So we've just got to do all the steps in between and we're guaranteed to get there. So it says, logic is great stuff. We liked it. We still like it. It is not by chance we were given the power to reason, to examine the evidence of our senses and to draw conclusions. That is one of man's magnificent attributes. So again, even just thinking about this, logic is great stuff, and that they like it, and that, we can examine the evidence of our senses and draw conclusions. I have to really understand that I've got something very defective in my brain that tells me, yeah, I can, it will be different this time. I have to understand the insanity of my illness. And because without it, it's like I believe myself. And that's why I've got to stay very close to God. And so the 3 legacies, and again, I was talking with, this sponsee earlier, and it was about the logic, the logic is very clear cut. A real alcoholic or a real addict without a spiritual solution is going to do what addicts and alcoholics do. They're going to pick up. It's inevitable. But by working a spiritual 12-step program, I have an opportunity to have a mental defense and not pick up. It's that clear cut. So it says, we agnostically inclined. And I like that term, right? This is good for us to think about this. Agnostically inclined. Because I shock myself sometimes with how I try to take control again, how I forget that God has all power, and that sometimes I disbelieve that. But I don't think I'm agnostic, but my actions, when I get scared about something, I'm behaving agnostically. I'm believing that God is not going to sort it all, that I'm in charge, that I have to fix it, that I have to do something. So I like that saying, we agnostically inclined. It means that I'm not very God sufficient. I'm more self-sufficient. Would not feel satisfied with a proposal which does not lend itself to reasonable approach and interpretation. Hence we are at pains to tell why we think our present faith is reasonable, why we think it is more sane and logical to believe than not to believe. So, again, why we say our former thinking was soft and mushy when we threw up our hands in doubt and said, we don't know. How beautiful are those 3 words? We don't know. That is like real humility. We don't know. Can I show up with an open mind? And, when I read this stuff, over and over, it makes sense as I'm saying it, because what they're saying is like, we recovered people who have written this book. We know what it's like to be going in and out of hospitals and dying, dying and letting everyone down. We found a solution, a 12-step solution. And we think that our old thinking is soft and mushy. Oh no, spirit. Oh, I've not tried it, but no, it's not going to work. No, 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 no. I can fix it. I can fix it. I've fixed it before. I can fix it again. That's soft and mushy. It's way more sane and logical to let's look at the evidence, what works. Because on my own power, I can't stop drinking or using. I just can't do it. So then it says, when we became alcoholics, crushed, that's a good word, crushed by a self-imposed crisis, we could not postpone or evade. Brilliant. Postpone, hold it off, evade, avoid. We could not postpone or evade. We had to fearlessly. And that's a beautiful word as well, isn't it? We use it all the time. Fearlessly, fearlessly, fearlessly. I never used to think about that word. It means without fear. Am I going to trust this process, this program, God, without fear? Or am I going to go, yeah, okay, I'm going to do the 12 steps, but I kind of still want to like hold back a little bit of my finances or my romance, or, I can still get scared. And it's saying fearlessly face the proposition that God is either everything else else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What was our choice to be? Wow, that's a big, big statement. And again, it's really clear cut, isn't it? It's like God either is or God isn't. What is my choice to be? It's not like, oh, well, yeah, so these are really good questions to like pinpoint it down to us. Let's get really clear. God either is or God isn't. What was our choice to be? And, as I hope I never come across as preachy, because as I'm reading it with you guys, I'm thinking, well, when I'm in complete faith, when I keep on saying to myself, well, of course God is everything, then I don't feel scared. But it's only when I get my agnosticism back that I go, oh no, and then I start panicking again, and I'm like, well, you don't think God is then? You're in the other camp. So it's a powerful statement to go back to, isn't it? Arrived at this point, we were squarely confronted with the question of faith. We could not duck the issue. Some of us had already walked far over the bridge of reason toward the desired shore of faith. This bit always confuses me because bridge of reason is capitalized, but it's not actually talking about God being all power, because it's saying the bridge of reason. So we're still here, it's talking about holding on still to my reasoning, towards the desired shore of faith, the outlines and the promise of the new land, that's capitalized as well, so that means God, had brought lustre to tired eyes and fresh courage to flagging spirits. Friendly hands had stretched out in welcome. We were grateful that reason had brought us so far. Again, it's capitalized, but somehow we couldn't quite step ashore. Perhaps we had been leaning too heavily on reason that last mile, and we did not like to lose our support. So, like, again, I just imagine all of the people in recovery who have worked all of their 12 steps, who are free, who are reaching out their hands going, trust us. You know, when you've got that sponsee who's like, I don't want to make my amends, I don't want to do my step 5, and we're like, it's okay, we didn't either, come to this side, it's going to be all right. But this bridge of reason is like still it was our HP. Thanks, Lynn. So it's like this bit always confuses me. I had to ask someone, because it was like, why is it capitalized if it's talking about the reasoning in my head? It's not talking about God being all powerful, because I'm still, Lynn will come in after and help us out with that. Thanks. So that was natural, but let us think a little more closely. Without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith? For did not we believe in our own reasoning? There we go, it's our own reasoning. Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? What was that but some sort of faith? Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. So in one way or another, we discovered that faith had been involved the whole time. So I have had faith. I have had faith in my ways of thinking. I have had faith in thinking that I can control this, that I can sort myself out. That is not the truth. So I have had some kind of faith, but I've had faith in the wrong thing. I've had faith in my own human power, which just is not enough. I'm that tiny speck of an ant on the planet with all the other beings and living creations. You know, we found too that we had been worshippers. What a state of mental goose flesh that used to bring on. Goose flesh is quite funny. It means goosebumps. You know, and like it's quite a good term for it. Goose flesh that used to bring on. Had we not variously worshipped people? Oh, who's show of hands? Who's worshipped a person? Yeah, you got that. So 2 hands there. Yeah, I see you. I see you. So I'll put a question mark there. Sentiment, question mark. Things, question mark. Uh-oh. Money. Yeah, money. Money. And ourselves. Oh my gosh. All of those things. I've definitely, I didn't think twice to worship these things. But when I'm asked to worship this all-powerful, loving being, because it comes in the 3-letter word God, that I associate without knowledge, without experience, I associate with, oh no, churchy people, they're way too good. They're going to judge me. I'm bad. I'm naughty. I'm bad. I'm fun. But it's insane. It's not real. So this is a brilliant paragraph about, what I'm okay worshipping myself or money or another person or things or prestige or pomp. Can worship all of that, no problem. But when if you think about, I mean, I'm a parent. If you think about just the beauty that we're all here, and that we can procreate and create baby and love and nature and have this experience, it seems insane to not worship this experience called life, to be grateful for that. But I'm like, oh, but my house is too small and my car's rubbish and me. It's just the material, stuck, trapped in the material. So it says, and then with a better motive, had we not worshipfully beheld the sunset, the sea or a flower? Who's done that? Who's looked at something and just gone, I'm mesmerized by that? And it says, how much of these feelings, these loves, these worships have to do with pure reason? Did we ever question it? Did we ever think, looking at a sunset, did we ever think, why are you so astonished by that incredibly gorgeous red sky that's pink and red and all the blue and colors? We don't question that. We just go with it. But when it's something that we're not like the word God, we're just naturally like blocked. I hope it's not offensive that I keep on saying we. I should maybe not say we, but then sometimes when I say I feel like I'm being selfish. Worrywart, the mind of an alcoholic, eh? So it says, little or nothing we saw at last. Were not these things the tissue out of which our lives were constructed? Did not these feelings, after all, determine the course of our existence? It was impossible to say that we had no capacity for faith or love or worship. In one form or another, we had been living by faith and little else. So that's beautiful, isn't it? Because it means actually all my whole life, I have been living with this unbelievable love for something. Love is an energy, a feeling, something that I can't, it's intangible, but I know it's there. Like a higher power, when we connect to it, I can't tangibly show you love or my higher power, but I can see the effects of it and I can feel it, you know? So it says, imagine life without faith, were nothing left but pure reason. It wouldn't be life. So again, imagine if we just questioned everything, pure reason, like didn't just go with it and experience things, just always, questioning it. But we believed in life, of course we did. We could not prove life in the sense that you can prove a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. Yet there it was. And this line always gets me as well. But my understanding of it is that if you look on a map and you looked at, countries per se, it might be that looks like it's the shortest distance because it's from there to there. But actually, when you're on the earth, there might be mountains or valleys in between those 2 points. Like a bird flying, it would be the shortest distance. But actually, if I was walking on foot, it might be. So again, it's just like questioning our rationalizing of what we think we know. Could we still say the whole thing was nothing but a mass of electrons created out of nothing, meaning nothing, whirling on to a destiny of nothingness? Of course we couldn't. The electrons themselves seemed seemed more intelligent than that, at least so the chemist said. So again, this whole idea of, well, if I'm being so adamant and strong in the sense that life is, there is no God, I don't worship, I can't have faith for this, even though I have been having faith the whole time in different things. Am I really saying that life is nothing? It's a whirling mass of electrons. It doesn't mean anything. It's this whole planet orbiting the sun with all of these creations. That's just nothing, because that's what it boils down to. Otherwise, do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. Again, it's another form of insanity. So hence we saw that reason isn't everything. Neither is reason, as most of us use it, entirely dependable, though it emanates from our best minds. What about the people who proved man could never fly? So remember that saying that I quoted before, Nelson Mandela, it's always impossible until it's done. So people were just like, no, people can't fly. Others, maybe us, no, this isn't going to work for me. But it's being proved that it is possible, that it can work, that it will work. So it says, yes, we have been seeing another kind of flight, a spiritual liberation. And I like that because liberation means like freedom, doesn't it? Spiritual freedom. And if I think about this page 52 that we've just read, being wrapped up in the bondage of self, trouble with personal relationships, full of fear, depression, misery, it says, we have been seeing another kind of flight, a spiritual liberation from this world, people who rose above their problems. Isn't it weird how, like, these 12 steps have worked for so many millions of people all around the world from all different walks of life, with all different backgrounds, who drank and used differently. And what these people are all saying, they're all saying the same thing. They ended up understanding that they're powerless and that their life had become unmanageable, that they have a chronic, fatal, progressive illness. We've got a common problem, and that there's a common solution. And when all of these people that have worked a program, they're all saying the same thing. They're like, life took on new meaning. I suddenly stopped regretting the past and didn't want to wish to shut the door on it. I felt safe and protected. Started getting my family back. I started to be able to look the world in the eye. All of these promises start coming true. We understand what, peace means, what contentment means, what serenity means, like maybe not having a lot of material stuff. Imagine being happy and having no material stuff. But before we were like, oh, I need more. I need more. I've got loads, but I still need more to make me happy. That restless, irritable, and discontent. So it says, they said God made these things possible, and we only smiled. We had seen spiritual release, beautiful spiritual release, but liked to tell ourselves it wasn't true. Again, I think we've already covered that bit where it talks about looking at the ugliness, not being able to see the beauty of the trees because they're diverted by the ugliness of one of them. And again, it's sort of saying that, how insane is it of me to continue to think that this thing won't work for me and won't continue to work for me if I show up. So all the people that have been in for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and they're still having these experiences, and they're still saying that the layers are being pulled back and that they're learning new stuff about themselves. Isn't it funny that I've seen this spiritual release, but I can still delude myself and think that tell ourselves that it wasn't true. So I love this chapter for kind of really, they're hammering it home. They keep on saying, what is it that you believe? So do you believe this then? Is that what you believe? What they're just challenging our old ideas. Actually, we were fooling ourselves. Here we go. For deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. Fundamental means most important, right? Crucial, fundamental idea of God. And it says deep down in every man, woman, and child. It may be obscured by calamity, drama, drama in my head, chaos, confusion, calamity, by pomp, pride, prestige, ego, by worship of other things. Again, like delusion, wrong track, worship of other things. Forgetting that if I stay close to God and perform God's work well, everything will be provided for me. But you know, and that's again, page 52 is a really good place to see how connected I am to God or how disconnected. And here it's saying it may be obscured by calamity, by pomp, by worship of other things, but in some form or other, it is there. For faith in a power greater than ourselves, capital P, and miraculous demonstrations of that power in human lives are facts as old as man himself. And I've squiggly underlined that fact. I love that bit because I think, and I hope this is not an outside issue, it might be, so forgive me, but I stopped watching the news like years and years ago because I felt like I'm such a sensitive person as well that I feel so harmed by it. I feel so scared by it. I just feel like it's like media brainwashing that I'm just listening to what, and it's saying here that faith in a power greater than ourselves and miraculous demonstrations of that power in our human lives are facts as old as man himself. But what have I been looking at? I've been the Florida businessman lolling in the sunshine, complaining about the sad state of the nation. I've been sitting in my house, with on page 25, it talks about the, I've just forgotten it. Let me just go to it because it's because my brain is so full. Page 25. I always refer to it. To go on till the bitter end, blotting out the consciousness of our intolerable situation as best we could. So that's where my mind was. It wasn't in this looking for miraculous demonstrations of that power in human lives. Tapping into people who are free, spiritually liberated. They have this release, they have this freedom from care and worry. And these are facts, but I've been, not in the sunlight of the spirit. We finally saw that faith in some kind of God was part of our makeup, just as much as the feeling we have for a friend. Sometimes we had to, there's a must, I would be powering it out with my sign. We had to search fearlessly. Again, there's that word, search fearlessly. But he was there. He was as much a fact as we were. Wow, beautiful fact, evidence, proof. We found the great reality. And I love that description of God, capital G, capital R. Great reality. I like the fact that reality means truth, doesn't it? It means what's real. Great reality. But I've been me, smash, 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 smash. What about me? You do this, you do that, make me happy, me. And it's like deep down, I've never spent the time to like pray and meditate, to feel this presence inside me and see it in others and see it working in others. So I love that it keeps on saying that this is fact. This has been going on, this great reality. You know, on page 63, it says we have been reborn. We're all of a sudden like, is this the same planet that I was on before? I probably do this all the time, but I'm just going to do it in case anybody else hasn't seen it. You know, this was my vision. This was my understanding of life, my experiences, my upbringing, my relationships, my knowledge. Like this is what I think I know. And the 12 steps of recovery have helped me go like this. Oh my days. There's a whole big world of I just thought of the Willy Wonka and the Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. World of pure imagination. Oh God, I've just gone a bit bonkers at the end of the study. But there is all these fascinating, magical miracles happening all around. But I was just completely unaware of it. So it says we found a great reality deep down within us. In the last analysis, it is only there. Only there. I like that. I've squiggly underlined it a lot of times. That he may be found. It was so with us. And I like the fact that it says only there because it reminds me that anything I try to grab onto or control or secure or whatever, it's all external. The more I can tap into getting connected with this great reality deep down within. And when it says in the last analysis, that could refer to before we die. In the last analysis, when we fully understand that it's only there that he can be, and so with us. Right, I'll just read this extra paragraph. We can only clear the ground a bit if our testimony helps to sweep away prejudice. There's an action. Sweep away prejudice, to prejudge something that I have no experience with. Enables you to think honestly. There's another direction. Think honestly. For the first time, recovery has helped me to think honestly. Encourages you to search diligently. There's another action. Diligently means carefully, meticulously, thoroughly. Within yourself, search diligently within yourself. Then if you wish, question mark, do you wish? Do you want this? It says you can join us on the broad highway. With this attitude, you cannot fail. There's a promise. You cannot fail. The consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you. So consciousness means awake. So the awareness, the ability to understand that God is always there and that I can tap into this belief is sure to come to you. And I'll just finish on this. Where it says broad highway, somebody shared this with me once and I thought it was brilliant. If you think of what a highway is, it's a road that has been specifically built to get you directly to where you want to go. It's a broad highway. It's a wide, straight route to get you to where you want to go. The M1 in the UK goes from the bottom of the country to the top of the country. It's a broad highway. Lots of cars can fit on there to go right, straight up or down. So this is what it makes me think of. Do I want a straight, clear, direct route to get to a higher power? Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm going to leave it there, stop the recording.